Hey guys, so today we're going to introduce you to a very interesting country. So it doesn't have any valuable resources, modern factories, or even fertile fields. Elementary and middle schools are mandatory and free, making the country's literacy rate 100%. They don't print their own money, and the unemployment level is 2.5%. There's also no airport or rail transport, and a total of just 125 miles of asphalted roads. The country has never had an army or a ministry of defense. There are no prisons, lawyers are forbidden, and the crime rate is one of the lowest in the world, at 154 crimes per 100,000 residents. The mail services are free for everyone. The country is in second place for number of tourists per capita, second to Vatican City. The average life expectancy is 83 years, again taking second place, but this time losing out to Japan. The long lives are provided thanks to the clean air and cold but sunny climate. They have 300 sunny days per year, as well as excellent healthcare that is free to all working citizens and their families. Deals in the country can be concluded using any currency, because the country has no exchange restrictions. Most of the country is covered in mountains, forests, rivers, lakes, and meadows. The environment is protected here and is one of a kind. Any tourist will feel at ease and comfortable. There's excellent service and friendly people everywhere, and you won't really want to leave. This is Andorra. Now, finding Andorra on a map on your first try, it's not easy. This tiny 180 square mile country is hidden between its huge neighbors of France and Spain, who are 1,000 times larger. Tiny Andorra is surprising and attractive in every sense. The people live for a long time, an army isn't needed, the climate is pleasant, and life is relaxed and steady. Now, the citizens are people of few words and don't love to stand out from the crowds. The buildings and discreet streets lovingly blend into the rocky background, and they only shine bright at night when the tourists come out. But consequently, this is where you'll find the best goods at the best prices in Europe. The entire country is a duty-free area, so it's no surprise that you can find famous brands in the shops here for 20 to 40% less than in other European countries. Now, up until about the mid-20th century, the Andorran economy was based on pastoral nomadism, but in recent decades, the Andorrans have gone through a huge increase in quality of life thanks to trade and tourism. Now, the demand for the labor force, thanks to the economic success, caused intense immigration from Spain and Portugal to a lesser extent that greatly increased the country's population. So today, Andorra makes its money mostly on tourism, thanks to its geographical location. The country is located between the Pyrenees Mountains that have many ski resorts, and Andorra's calling card is the world-famous Andorra La Vella Resort. Additionally, the lack of many taxes on export allows them to maintain the low price level, making trade tourism possible. Profitable shopping attracts tourists from neighboring Spain and France that Andorra shares borders with, as well as tourists from other European countries. The tiny country with 90,000 people is visited by over 10 million tourists every year, making it one of the most touristy countries in the world. There weren't any serious armed conflicts in Andorra over the last 10 centuries, so they never needed an army. The police consist of 240 employees, which is enough to solve the rare conflicts between citizens or tourists. Naturally, prisons and lawyers aren't needed here. Andorra is associated with France and Spain. This means it is an independent country, but still trusts its neighbors with two co-princes, the President of France and the Catholic Bishop of Urgell from Spain. You'd be surprised, but until 1993, the Andorrans paid their protectors tribute every year. 960 francs to the President of France and 460 peseta, 12 heads of cheese, 12 capones, 12 partridges, and 6 hams to the Urgell Bishop. But according to the new constitution, the country is really ruled by its parliament, a single house, the General Council. Meanwhile, it's worth noting that Andorra is not part of the EU, and France and Spain are responsible for defending it. With its modern borders having been established in a distant 1278, Andorra is the oldest country that's maintained its borders without changing in the world. Today, the country's population is about 50% native Catalonians and 50% immigrants. People immigrate for the low taxes and high bank security that have fairly high interest rates. Now, the comfortable quality of life is another big reason that people move to this tiny country, alongside the warm climate, the clean mountain air, and, as a result, one of the highest life expectancies in the world at 83.5 years. Now, the tourism industry provides 80% of the country's GDP, and tourism is the main contributor to the country's budget. The ski season is the most popular, stretching from early December to mid-April. Tourists come in the summer for the mountainous environment and medieval monuments. The capital Andorra la Vella has 40 hotels and as many spas. Now, the growth of tourism that the government started stimulating back in the mid-20th century brought foreign capital investors to Andorra, which boosted construction and the land value. But it's interesting that Andorra still has no airports nor railroads. There's only car transport, and the first road that connected it to Spain was built in 1911. The one with France was only built in 1933. However, if you look at the economic system of Andorra more intentionally, it becomes pretty clear. It's based on the principles of libertarianism. All this led to Andorra today being a European tax haven, with the banking sector playing a large role in the economy. The trade of luxury items flourishes here for the same reasons. Moreover, Andorra is a duty-free zone, which provides the opportunity to obtain various items at 25 to 40% less than the cost in Spain or France. And we're back to tourism again. Most foreigners come to Andorra for a day from neighboring Spain or France to make smart purchases and use the significantly lower prices. Additionally, Andorra has unbelievably low prices on the most popular items, which caused the shopping tourism to develop. Based on evidence from people who've been to Andorra, the new modern area in the capital looks like a huge duty-free store. It's also worth mentioning the currency issue and how it was solved again. Now, officially, the country isn't in the Eurozone, but the euro is mostly used because they don't have their own currency. You could say that Andorra entered the Eurozone without prior permission and without caring about the opinions of other European countries or having any negotiations with them. Also, you can conduct business deals using any currency, since the country doesn't have an official currency or exchange restrictions, and the special tax system lets you find the option that works best for you. Now, most small shops and restaurants accept dollars for payment. You can also freely use credit cards and traveler's checks. The difficult geographical location, in addition to the need to execute long-distance banking services and provide phone service for tourists, led to Andorra having an incredibly well-developed telecommunication network. By the end of 2010, every home in the country had fiber optic internet connections with a minimum speed of 100 megabytes per second. Andorra doesn't have private ownership of land, farmland, forests, or mines. They are either government-owned or communal property that distribute the allotment of farmland among individuals. Since the Middle Ages, profits on the sale of meat and pharmaceuticals have been one of the big sources of income for the country. Now, we don't need to talk about industry as part of the Andorran economy. There is a series of small factories, but they don't play a significant role in the country. There are sources of iron ore that provided the growth of primitive metallurgy in the past that ran out in the late 20th century. Now, currently, Andorra has to import its metal products from other countries. One of the biggest sections of the Andorran economy is electricity production. Various parts of the country have small but powerful rivers that have small power plants that provide electricity to the nearby villages. The largest of them is a 26.5 megawatt plant in the city Leskovo on the Valeria River. Now, some of the electricity produced there is exported to Catalonia. The sector connected with foreign tourism, namely producing local souvenirs, has seen large growth in recent years. Andorran visitors can pick among excellent Andorran wines that are stored in small glass bottles, with wide necks and narrow mouths, like the Perona, as well as huge cigars up to 1.5 feet long that weigh almost 2 pounds. But the development of agriculture is limited since only 2% of the land is good for farming. Now, when talking about the success of Andorra today, it's worth remembering that this country was closed and poor for many centuries. Its citizens lived off their modest farming and their extensive contraband across the Spanish-French border. Only after World War II did the country start to see the changes that would turn it into one of Europe's most prosperous countries. But Andorra needed to open itself to the world first and lay the foundation for its economy using libertarian principles. Their government is involved in the economy as little as possible, and private business works almost without any limitations. This small mountain country that only shook off the yoke of feudalism in 1993, despite the pandemic, has a GDP of $50,000 per capita and a minimum monthly salary of $1,158, which shows stable growth. The quality of life is definitely higher than in neighboring Spain, that has had many colonies around the world. How do they do this? Maybe the answer is in the people, in their cultures and traditions, or maybe it's the exclusive freedom. Well, let me know what you think in the comments. That's all for today. Be sure to leave us a like, and we'll see you next time.